When we were building my PC, Dave, I should have went with the AMD as my processor.
Yeah. Unfortunately, it was during a time where like AMD was like growing, but I wasn't sure exactly like where they were going to go.
Yeah.
Now they blew up, so it would be easy for me to decide, hey, let's go with an AMD CPU. But like when I built my PC, Intel was like killing the game like 5 years ago. AMD didn't really have a competition as far as, hey, Intel i5 whatever.
Yeah.
There was just no competition at all. Intel was just killing the market.
Yeah, I was in the same ballpark. Like when I built mine, Intel was like popping off at the time, and everyone was going more like Intel. AMD was around, but it wasn't very well known at the time.
Their graphics cards were relevant at the time, not their CPUs.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
I went with Intel instead, and now I have an i7, and I'm just like, if I went with a freaking AMD, dude.
The thing is now too is that if you went with an AMD or if you went with an Intel 4 or 5 years ago, you now have to go through the painful process of replacing your motherboard because you have the wrong chipset.
Exactly.
So you want to go with the newest generation, though. You can still go like 8th gen and be fine, but you're also like you're 2 gen, like a gen behind though.
I gotta get a whole new motherboard, a whole new cooler, the whole bit. I already know.
That's why I'm switching over to AMD. I was like, screw this. I could upgrade and reuse the same motherboard.
The next time I upgrade my PC, I literally pretty much might as well just build a brand new PC because I would need to replace the motherboard. I would need to replace my CPU. If I replace my CPU, I might as well replace my GPU. Like, and then my power supply would be a problem. So it's like, okay, well, I'll just save up another $3,000 and just buy another one.
Yeah.
Basically, I'm gonna build a Rise. I'm gonna build an AMD.
The only thing I can save is my damn CPU cooler because that's the only thing that's good anymore. And the RAM, maybe.
Build my next PC. I'm probably just gonna buy one off NZXT's website because I got a good. I built a pretty good one on there with a 30. I think it has a 3070 in it.
Ooh.
For $2,000. 32 gigs of RAM, 3070, 8 terabytes of Seagate hard drive space, and I'm just sitting here like 8 terabytes for $150. It's sold.
Yeah.
I was also thinking about
built into my house. I picked everything out, but I mean, put together.
I was also thinking about doing something similar to that because then you can go with like a water-cooled GPU and a water-cooled CPU, and you have a professional installing it. Although the problem with that is like my friend had an experience with his computer that has an i9. He has an i9 9400K, and they installed the CPU cooler. He has a water cooler. They installed it wrong, so the pump came out over a RAM slot.
Oh no!
Oh my god!
So they installed his RAM in the slots 2 and 4. Well, that slows down your computer because guess what? You're supposed to do it in 1 and 3.
Yeah,
everyone knows that. So they installed the pump wrong, and I was like, okay, who did you buy this from? Because you can't fix this because you literally it's literally impossible.
Yeah,
and I was like, I don't want to go with this company ever.
That's so bad, dude.
I was like, that's crazy. And now he has like all kinds of problems. I was like, oh, gosh.
Oh, I know that when I built it on NZX's website, I chose 2 or 4 sticks of RAM. And they're like, we might have to turn your cooler sideways. And I was like, I'm okay with this because I'm never going to look at it.
Right.
No.
Yeah, if I was to like, if I didn't meet you to build my PC, Dave, I think I would have probably went with like NZXT for a part picker, NZXT PC builder instead of like CyberPower PC or Origin.
Well, now that I have the experience, I feel like I should just go with like a customized build and just pay a little bit more for it instead of trying to pick out parts, especially now.
Yeah.
Like going with a pre-built right now is definitely the way to go if you're trying to buy a PC.
Cheaper because of COVID and everything.
There's like $1,400 PCs that completely outspec mine, and I can tell you I spent more than $1,400 on my PC, and I don't want to
end up doing when I build mine is just like, hey, drop $2,500 on it when I could have bought something that's just as good, if not better, from like NZXT or like 80. I think
that's what I'll probably do because my one friend is trying to look for building a PC. I might actually give him a pre-built one from NZXT.
Yeah. Just make sure you have your SSD and your hard drive separate.
Yeah.
And then you have, like, my friend bought his PC for $1,400 and has a 2080 Ti and 9700K, 32 gigabytes of RAM. Like, come on. Like, that completely outspecs my PC, and I spent twice as much on mine.
But the reason you can get it for that price, though, is because companies like that will buy everything in bulk.
In bulk, yep.
Yeah, kind of like Steam.
So they can afford to break even on the 2080 Ti because they sold you the case for an upcharge fee. They sold you everything else and made money on everything else. But like the selling point was the graphics card and the processor, where they bought at cost and then they sell to you at technically they sell to you at cost, but they make money on everything else. And then they do that like 1,000 times an hour.
Unfortunately, the downside to that is if you go with a customized build, you can't pick the motherboard, so they might give you some off-brand motherboard that you never heard of. You might have never heard of the power supply company. Like, they could give you some 600-watt power supply, and you would have to just replace it.